So, you're a business owner dedicated to the significant and sustainable growth of both you and your business. Welcome to the AddAZero podcast.
Hi, I'm Jay Allen. Welcome to the AddAZero podcast. In today's episode, I want to be a little bit self-indulgent and talk a little bit about why we believe that every business ought to have the pillars of progress firmly in place. Now, to be able to share a little bit more about that, I've got to start by giving you a little bit of context of where all this has come from. And that is from the evolution of where AddAZero was first conceived and how it's developed over the last 10 years or so. At the time of evolution, I was a guest lecturer in the northwest of England on one of the prominent universities on their MBA programme, and had the privilege of working with a small team of business analysts in year 2 of the programme. During that period of time, a well-known entrepreneur from the States had recently arrived in the UK and was busy and quite prolific on Facebook advertising his business success blueprint. And I was able to convince the university that whilst we were teaching lots of theory, it might be interesting contrast to look at what this multimillionaire was offering in a more practical element of what training was available to the business owner and business operator. And we were able to purchase a copy of said programme. And don't get me wrong, it was a very well put together and comprehensive training platform teaching people through video and downloadable resources and a community on his development of his business. Now, I say that with some trepidation on the premise that it was very quickly identified that whilst it was a very comprehensive programme, there was a missing ingredient, and I would consider it a vital missing ingredient. What was missing is, how do I take all of this training, development and resources that you're teaching me on what you've done to grow your business and translate that into how I want to grow my business? You see, you're in marketing and sales and the front end. You're running an agency. Your knowledge, your experience, your background, your capabilities are all based around marketing and sales. And mine's not. Mine's a product-based business. I don't have that background or experience or education or training. And yet what you're telling me is I've got to follow your system based on a service rather than product-based business, and I need to understand how to translate that into me and my world. So one of the things that we did as a university was we surveyed people on Facebook. We didn't necessarily name the person, but we just said, if you've ever purchased a success blueprint, can you give us a little bit of evidence to support as to how well it helped you to grow and scale your business? And because we were a leading university with a brand and a badge that was recognisable and known by many, and because we did a little bit of an incentive to be able to encourage people to complete our survey, we got almost 1,000 people to reply. I thought it was a relatively good study group, that the figures were quite concerning. 3% of replies declared that the business success blueprint had been the pivotal moment in helping them to scale and grow their business. 3%. A further 11% said that applying some of the training had enabled them to recuperate cost. And the rest declared that they either hadn't completed the programme or had quit quite early on when they realised that it wasn't, quote, a good fit, unquote, for them and their growth journey. And that, for me, was pivotal. You see, whilst it was an incredibly compelling programme, it was only going to teach somebody the things that the person who created it had done to achieve their level of success in their business with their background and their experience and their capability and qualification. Nowhere within the programme was that missing ingredient that says, and this is how you can do it for your business, or what does success mean to you? What does it look like? How do you do it for a product-based business or a service-based business? If it's clicks or bricks orientated. There wasn't the translation required for the majority of people to be successful from it. At the same time, I just finished and sold my business, having previously, about 3 years earlier, almost failed as a direct result of one of our clients going into receivership. If you've watched and listened to the first series of AddAZero, you'll know that we were suppliers to Woolworths in 2008 when Woolworths was put into administration. And because we were a small supplier to a huge big conglomerate, a big PLC, there was no way that we were going to be on the preferred suppliers list and be first paid out. And we lost £226,000 almost in a phone call when at 6 o'clock one Friday evening, just before Christmas, I was advised that the company had been placed into receivership, that our supplier, we were on the 17th page of suppliers, and that there was little chance that there would be any money or assets left to be able to pay out suppliers so far down the buyers list. It was the most painful thing I've ever been through. And the challenges that it brought up for our businesses that were so reliant on that invoice being paid on time were almost insurmountable. It led me to having to make 7 people redundant just before Christmas. It led me from being able to take out a second charge of my house in order to be able to cover some of our existing debts. And it led me to raise a lot of money on personal finance that I ploughed back into the business to prevent other people from being made redundant also. Something that years and years and years later, I still bear badly as a scar, and something that I never, ever want to repeat. As a result, I want to understand this time later, now working with a really smart bunch of young adults that are keen on understanding data and the impact it has. I want to understand as to what caused Woolworths to go bust. How did Woolworths, a company of 93 years old, employing 37,000 people with a turnover of just shy of £2 billion at a time where 2 billion was a lot of money, how could they possibly have got it so wrong that they subsequently went bust? So I put this to a team of data analysts in university and said, what lessons could we learn from other people's failure? And that is where AddAZero started. We started to gather information from KPMG and Deloitte and other such receivers under subject access data requests to understand the impact, to understand the sheer errors that were being made at a global and corporate scale that left so many people unemployed, to say what lessons can we learn from this and when do those lessons need to be learned by in order that redundancy isn't the result of failure, the failure to understand and implement. Over the next 4 years at the university, between 2007 and 2011, we conducted 153 national surveys looking at everyone from TIRAC and DFS sofas and CNA and Blockbuster Video and Norton motorcycles. You name it. It wasn't specific to retail. If it had become a national business, if they were employing more than 250 people, if it was over 30 million in revenue and then subsequently went bust, we wanted to understand what caused it and what lessons could be learned. And by gathering a ridiculous amount of data and then looking for patterns, we were quickly able to identify the 3 flaws, which is what's mentioned in the first series of AddAZero, episode 2, the 3 flaws, that led these businesses to failure. And then subsequently, by working with both the Federation of Small Businesses and the Chamber of British Commerce, we were able to identify within smaller businesses when those lessons need to be applied by in order that it doesn't have a direct impact on the growth and sustainability of the business therein. We were able to learn the lessons from other people's errors and help them to be able to have a more informed choice of what and where and how to be able to grow forward. And it's on that basis that we've now formed the AddAZero methodology. To date, we've delivered this at 3 different levels. Basecamp is what I would consider the scalable foundations, the things that we need to have in place in order for an established business to be able to subsequently scale without risk, to continue to hit the accelerator and to move quickly beyond growth and into a scalable capability without it having a risk of either friction during traction. Then Explorer is the next layer that we put on top of that, usually for 7 and multi-7-figure businesses, already established SME or ME businesses, looking at the different options and availabilities to us in order to accelerate that scale. There are a multitude of different ways from Basecamp up to the top, and the Explorer program is looking at the variety of different strategies that we could apply on how to be able to multiply the scale in which we could grow the business. And then Summit, our highest package, the one that few of our small clients or a small number of our clients will aspire to, is once we've got to that multi-7-figure level, how do we take it even further? Is it through franchise? Is it through licensing? Is it through mergers and acquisitions? Is it through an exit plan and handing it over to the next generation for us to be able to retire, knowing that our job is done and that the business is in safe hands to be able to go on and to multiply even further beyond our involvement within it? And a whole series of exit support strategies from the existing owner to either multiply the business even further, like I say, through either M&A or franchise or licensing, or subsequently to enable them to be able to successfully sell the business either internally through an MBO, a management buyout, or externally by floating it or subsequently selling it to a competitor or on the open market, as a way of being able to exit ourselves from the business while continuing to receive the reward that you deserve from it. We've had these packages in place for some time now. We've gratefully been able to work with some incredible business owners, both in the UK and abroad in Europe, to be able to take them from Basecamp through Explorer and into Summit. And yet, because we believe in feedback and the importance of being able to understand more about the people that we serve in order that we can better serve them, we regularly conduct reviews and ask for feedback to understand as to what and where and when and how. And there were a number of people that joined our Basecamp program earlier this year that offered the feedback, I'm not sure I'm quite ready for this level of scale. I was hoping that through the AddAZero survey that had been provided, that we got the things in place ready to be able to hit the accelerator. And yet by joining the Basecamp program, we realised that some of the things that we declared that were in place and working aren't quite working the way that we'd expected them to, or as efficiently as to, in order to maximise from what it is that you're now helping us to achieve. That it was creating friction through growth as opposed to transition through growth. Now, I believe that all feedback is good feedback, and although we know that we've had a multitude of people go successfully through the Basecamp program and move into Explorer, that recognising that some people were struggling determined the need that there was more that we could do. And therefore, over the summer in 2024, we spent time looking at what it would look like and what was necessary to help and support people further. And our Pillars of Progress programme is a short but very, very intense intervention to support people to get ready for Basecamp. In the eyes of a climber or mountaineer looking to be able to get to Everest, I would see the Pillars of Progress programme as almost the ski lift that takes them from all the way down in the valley and quickly transitions all of the climb to get them to Basecamp 1 at the foot of the hills of Mount Everest. Over a period of just 12 weeks, we worked together one-to-one, weekly, to be able to identify where are the strengths and weaknesses within the business, and the things that need to be put in place in order that when we hit the accelerator, that we can do so without fear or friction as a result. It enables us to be able to move into Basecamp far more succinctly, knowing that we've got the skills and the ability, the people and the process, the time to be able to apply, that as we move through Basecamp, it gives us the skills and experience that we're able to achieve. And therefore, our Pillars of Progress is a standalone program of just 3 months of weekly one-to-one support to enable businesses looking to scale to ensure that they have the right fundamentals in place in terms of marketing, sales, operation, finance, and team to enable us to be able to move quickly and to be able to see a significant growth as a result. I'm really delighted that just this week we've had 2 great testimonials from people that are in week 4 of that 12-week program. Sarah said that in 1 week of operating together, in the first week when we started looking at goals, personal and professional, we were able to identify that she'd undersold herself and her services, and by helping us to be able to understand how to be able to have a better vision and how to communicate that better, had already started to pay dividend. She said by the end of week 4, having changed the business plan accordingly and then acted to be able to change the way in which we communicate that to her existing customers, had seen a 25% return on investment for the entire program inside the first 4 weeks. And another gentleman, Andy, who has just touched week 4 this morning before the podcast, said in a recent email, Jay, the program has paid for itself more than 10 times over in the first month. If you're interested to learn more about our Pillars of Progress program, then simply visit our website, www.mytruenorth.biz. There, we've got a downloadable brochure telling you all about exactly what's covered, how it's covered, and the results that we would expect to see in just 12 weeks' time. And if you'd like to know more, simply click on the Contact Us tab on the same website, and we'd love to have a conversation. But for now, my question is simple. Have you got the foundations in place to be able to scale your business sustainably? And what's your exit plan for once you've had enough of that? Is it simply closing the doors and walking away happy? Or have you got an intent to be able to grow an empire and then sell it to either a management buyout, float it, or possibly sell it on the exchange? Because if you're ready to be able to have that type of conversation, then I'm ready to have a conversation with you. God bless, take care. I look forward to seeing you soon.
That's all for this episode. As always, we really thank you for listening and welcome your comments, thoughts, and suggestions. So please do drop us a line by emailing podcast@mytruenorth.biz. And don't forget, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button on whichever platform you're listening to this through. And tell your colleagues and business network all about who we are. You've been listening to the AddAZero podcast presented by Jay Allen. Brought to you in association with My True North, the UK's leading ethical coaching company.